50 million attend the cinema every week. Your film must show your American sisters that this is a war their husbands should be fighting.
Their Finest is set in London during World War II. It follows the character Katrine Cole. She's a copywriter brought in to write female dialogue for government propaganda films.
So what do you think? No screen credit?
And obviously we can't pay you as much as the chaps.
Played by Gemma Arterton, Cole is inspired by a real woman. She broke ground in the 1940s in what was decidedly a man's world.
And the girls have to finish the job under fire.
My character is actually based on a woman called Diana Morgan, who worked for Ealing Studios at the time and became one of their leading writers. We don't really know how much she wrote for them because she was uncredited a lot of the time, but she really was one, the woman in the writing room that with all these men and became, was a fixture at Ealing Studios.
While Cole deals with sexism, lower pay and patronising colleagues, Arterton is optimistic about women making their mark in cinema today.
I think we've got further to go, but it's definitely shifting, and it's shifting quickly as well. I mean, I'm aware of. I mean, the films that I'm involved in now are quite sort of female-centric, female-driven. I'm working with a lot of female writers and directors, so I guess my head is sort of in that world, so I'm talking from my point of view, but I think there's still a way to go.
And then further along.
Excuse me.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, certainly.
Oh, no.
Bill Nighy plays self-absorbed actor Ambrose Hilliard. He reluctantly settles for a supporting role as he realises his years of playing romantic leads are over. Nighy saw his own film career blossom in his 50s, but the star admits he still faced a difficult time as he got older.
I remember a phone call when I was 39 and she phoned up and said, it's Hamlet, it's Moscow and Tokyo, and I said, I don't want to play Hamlet. She said, no, not Hamlet, Claudius. Then you realise that you're Hamlet's uncle, and that the days when you might have played Hamlet, not that I have any desire to play Hamlet, have gone. So there are all kinds of landmarks. There's a difficult period in your late 30s, early 40s when on a good day you look 33 and on a bad day you don't. And then, and you go for interviews and you hope that this is one of those days.
For both Nighy and Arterton, the opportunity to dive into 1940s London was irresistible.
It was a really nice period for all men and women. They really took pride in the way they dressed, I think, because it was the war, and what else could they take pride in but themselves? So they'd get up and put the lipstick on and put on a tie and slick their hair down.
I mean, I do think that men and women's clothes, it's just been downhill since then. Since the late 1940s, that's when people really knew how to dress, and that's when trousers were trousers. You know what I'm saying? And all the girls in the movie look just so chic in those tailored things and beautiful blouses and stuff, and it's just a very, very hip period for clothes.
The movie started appearing in theatres at the beginning of the month, but Their Finest will bring all its fashion, drama and romance to home audiences when it's released in the UK on Friday.
I'm awfully good. So are you.
I'm going to begin, Gemma, by asking, tonally, this film is quite a tough one to get right because it walks that line between comedy and pathos in quite a remarkable fashion, really. Was there ever kind of any initial kind of apprehensions in that regard? Were you always quite confident, given the kind of production team behind it, the producers, the director, that they were going to get it spot on?
Well, when I read the script, I thought, wow, this is really, how do you get this right? Because it's true, it's really, really, really difficult. And but then, Amanda Posey, Stephen Woolley, two fantastic producers, and then Lona, who is actually kind of the perfect director for this film, because all of her films kind of tread that fine line, as you say, between kind of pathos and comedy, sometimes simultaneously. And then, with actors like Bill Nighy, who managed to kind of do he is kind of the master of that, I think, of conveying comedy and tragedy at the same time. But yeah, there was a moment where I thought, when I first read the script, I needed to have a chat with Lona before I committed to it, because I thought, oh, it could go so wrong, but thankfully it didn't, and it's what makes the film so special, I think.
And in many regards, it's a real kind of celebration of cinema as well. I mean, does it feel like quite a nice reminder in that regard? Because obviously with the rise of kind of home entertainment and Netflix and stuff, this film's very much about that kind of collective experience of watching a film together at the pictures.
Yeah, it really is. I think, I'd love for people to kind of watch this film and think, we should go to the cinema more often. It's really a good thing to do. It is a really special thing, going to the cinema, the event, and watching a film on the big screen and being moved by it and looking around. Or, some of my earliest cinema memories of, hearing people crying behind you or whatever. You're thinking, why are you crying? It's not even... But it's still something that you're sharing rather than being on your own. It is an art... going to the cinema, it's starting to die out a little bit, and I think it's really sad. But, films like this maybe can inspire people to keep going.
And that's not the only thing I think that makes this film quite sort of timely. I mean, obviously with the kind of recent Brexit stuff, the whole country feels a little bit kind of divided. And this film very much celebrates that sense of community as well, when people were working together for the kind of the sort of greater good, I suppose. Do you think that also makes this film, quite kind of important right now?
Yeah, I think it is quite timely. There are so many reasons why, but it's all about, even when, people are divided at the moment and it's a strange time, but in desperate times people come together, and I think we saw that, with recent events in London, when disaster strikes, people do come together, and I think the Brits they're pretty good in that way. And I think there's this kind of British sense of humour as well, is something that comes through. I love that about the Brits. We are quite self-mocking and self-deprecating, but we've got a good sense of humour, and I think that's what we need right now, a little bit of humour.
And I was just wondering too, I mean, because obviously when I've interviewed you before for this quite a while ago now, but you and Sam just spoke so highly of one another, and it sounds like you really made a good kind of friend in this movie, in him. That must be one of the real perks of this job as well. You're always kind of meeting new people and making kind of new friends, and that's probably never going to kind of go away as long as you're in this industry.
It's one of the things that I love about my job is the people that we meet. I mean, every day you're meeting somebody new, and you never know if they're going to last in your life. Actually, Sam is a friend of mine now, and it is quite rare that you kind of meet someone that it becomes your friend, because you meet so many people. But yeah, it was a good... That's one of the things I take away. And also Rachel Sterling, who plays Phil in the film, has become a really good friend of mine too, and so that's lovely.
And obviously you're someone with a passion for getting involved behind the camera now as well. I think you're getting into kind of producing and stuff like that. Did playing this role kind of help ignite that desire? Because obviously now you're playing someone on the other side of the industry.
Yeah, it's so thrilling watching those writing room scenes. Even when we were doing them, I thought, wow, this is amazing, collaborating and your job being to kind of throw ideas around and come up with stuff and imagine. I'd love to be a great writer, but I'm not. But I think I really enjoy kind of collaborating with people and brainstorming. So and since making this film, I've made my own film and created my own film, and I've started working on other projects too. So I guess so. Yeah, it's been inspired me in that way.
Because one of those projects is My Zoe, which I'm very excited about, because obviously Julie Delpy is directing, and I love Julie. And I was just wondering, in that, because she's obviously someone who's been directing for quite a while now, but she's always been acting as well. Is that, can you see yourself doing that? Can you see yourself directing too, or is that for another day?
I would love to direct, and I look at Julie Delpy and I think, wow, she just can do it all, and she's she's such an inspiration for me. I would love to. I think I've got to find the right thing, the right story that I want to tell. And I made this film last year, which was an improvised film, and I actually really enjoyed that. And maybe going into that, but I've got some things cooking in my mind, but they haven't kind of fully formed yet.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!
Do you really have to smoke that thing? I mean, couldn't you just mime?
I can mime smoking. I can't mime smoke.
That's a cut.
I wonder, would it be possible to have some knitting? My hands are aching for something to do, and it seems so right for the character.
Props. Yeah, I'll try and find some knitting.
Walter, a word. I fully understand the national importance of what we're shooting, and obviously there's no question of diluting the message. I just wonder if it mightn't pack a little more punch if Mr. Brown were to express a little more. For example, at the mention of the clever code, I might say, well, that'll be the first clever thing April's ever done in her life. Do you see? That's just a dash of humour, and then further along.
Excuse me.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, certainly.
We should be home by tea. Oh, no.
It's just that the caption at the end's going to be, he's not listening, but the enemy might be. It's a joke for women who think their husbands never pay attention. So if you start answering her, well, the caption won't make sense. I wrote it, the scenario.
I'll be in my dressing room if anyone needs me.
So how did you come to be involved in Their Finest?
I was given the book to read, just before it was published, and I read it, and I thought it would make a very good television, and then thought, actually, no, it'd make a fantastic film. It would make, I thought it would make a great film, and thought, well, I'd really like to write it as well, so I sort of said so. And at the same time, there were two producers who independently had come across the book and were both, in fact, going to try and go for it, and then realised that they were in competition, decided they didn't want to do that, they'd do it together. And my name was I don't know how they found out I was interested, actually, but it was a sort of happy coming together of circumstance.
I got involved through Lona Scherfig, the director, obviously, because I'd tried to work with her before and I wanted to work with her for a long time. And then the script turned out to be a cracker, so it was a no-brainer, as they say.
I read the script and I just thought it was brilliant. Really, really well-written script, really elegant and witty and funny and moving. And then I'd wanted to work with Lona for a long time. So, that's how I got involved.
How was it working with the rest of the cast? Because it is a fabulous cast.
It's a fantastic cast, which is a credit to Lona, because they will come for her because she's so admired. And also for the script, Gabby Chiappi's script, which was just sensational. So the combination was as attractive to them as it was to me.
The cast is just so beautifully put together, and every single person was just a joy to work with, from Sam Claflin, who has become a friend of mine, and we just have great chemistry, and he's so good in the film as well, and I loved working with Bill Nighy too. I mean, he was he's such a gentleman and so talented with comedy, and it was a real honour to sort of watch him make this beautiful script his own, the text his own. And then, heroes of mine like Richard E. Grant, just every day he was on set was a joy.
And obviously it's a very particular period in history. How much research did you do into the character? Or was it kind of all there in the novel?
It's all really there either in the novel or more importantly in the script. I did watch some of those films from that period in order to get a kind of tonal thing for the film that we're making within the film that you're watching, kind of thing. But largely it was all contained within the script.
And how is it making a film within a film?
It's good fun because you have a kind of double crew, and you have the pretend sound person and the real sound person, and similarly with the cameraman and every other department. And it was just good to see how they used to do it in 1940. The process is pretty much the same, but the equipment is different, and it's kind of funky to see all that stuff.
The thing that I had to do was keep track of the film they were making and also where they were in the process of making it. So, were they at the point of just putting together the story? Were they on the third draft? Were they on a shooting script? That I sometimes used to get confused about. And I had it all kind of written out so that I wouldn't lose track.
And as well as it being a film within a film, you're an actor playing another actor. I mean, how is it? That must be kind of odd to process.
It's slightly odd at first, and then you realise that you can't play an actor, you play a man. Like you can't play a painter, you play a man who paints. So, but it was fun, yeah, because there are certain things you recognise and those relationships you're familiar with the director and with the writer and all those kind of things. So it was, it doesn't, because you're an actor, it doesn't mean you can act it any better, but it was interesting to look at all that.
This is Rose and Lily's story, and you won't let them do anything.
They go to Dunkirk.
And Johnny pilots them home.
They're girls. Girls don't want to be the hero, they want to have the hero. They want to be had by him.
Tom, cab.
And if that ginger viper so much as gets her nose through the office door while we're out, you're sacked. And don't think I won't know. I can smell her shaving cream on the wind.
Anything else?
Since you're so keen to flex your femininity, you can tidy up!
The period details, obviously, a big part of the film. How were the costumes and the sets to work with? Because it looks like a huge amount of care was taken.
Yeah, we had a really incredible production designer and costume designer, both women. So the attention to detail was really impeccable. For my part, I mean, it really helps when everything is right. You know, from the newspapers that you're in the background, you know, the taps, everything was exactly as it would have been. And my costumes too. I mean, I worked for a long time with Charlotte, our costume designer, in getting it absolutely right. Everything I wore was from the period, so, you know, it helps you get into character and feel from that period. It's
Fantastic. I mean, their achievement is, you know, enormous. And I, you know, from my point of view, is the costumes of it. The costumes are great. I do think that clothes have gone downhill since 1947, particularly for women. I think the women look sensational. And it was, you're always very moved when you walk on a set and somebody's either built the set so beautifully and accurately and with such commitment, or made you a prop. They hand you a prop that is sort of beyond what you need. It's kind of built beautifully, or it's, you know, and it's always kind of humbling, and it's also inspiring because you think, oh my God, these people are serious, you know, you better be good, kind of thing. So it's it all helps enormously to doing your job.
How did you find working with Lona? Because obviously I think she was a big attraction for a lot of these people for the film.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Oh God, I really lucked out. So that's my first film, and I got to work with Lona, and it was really brilliant, really brilliant. Because you don't get that much, you don't get time on television, which is what I'm used to doing, to collaborate in the same way with a director. And in film, you do, and it was really a fantastic experience for me. Very happy.
And when you're finished promoting this, what's next for you? What's coming up?
Well, the next thing that you will see is called the Limehouse Golem, and golem is a Jewish folklore word which suggests demon or monster. It's from a book by Peter Ackroyd called Dan Leno and the Limehouse Golem. It stars Olivia Cooke with an E, who's the young British actress just been taken up by Steven Spielberg for his new movie, and myself and Danny Mays, the great young English actor. We comb 1880 London for clues for murder, and there's a lot of fog and a lot of blood. And I get to play Detective Superintendent John Kildare of Scotland Yard, which gives me a big bang every time I say that.
Girls like us, we serve all those people who gave their sons to one war, and now their grandsons to another. If all of this stopped, even if I were dead, I'd miss it. And I'd miss you.
Have you seen it, our film? I'm awfully good. So are you.
Mrs. Cole? Where is she?
Could someone please get Mr. Hilliard out of Dunkirk?